What exactly are we dealing with here?
Old and busted, new hotness.
And what could that possibly be?
Alien.
They do exist.
You boys have been watching the X-Files too much.
It is possible.
Welcome to my favorite Alien Andor edition. That's right, for the next, I don't know, how many weeks? 4 weeks, 5 weeks. This week and then 4 weeks. We're going to be talking about the show Andor on My Favorite Alien. Why? Because I like the show, and also because I need time to catch up and get ahead on interviews and stuff like that. And those things take a lot of time, a lot of effort to coordinate. And I just need, it's 4 weeks of like, I can just do this week to week, and I don't have to, I don't have to prep it as much as I mean, I still have to do a podcast, but it's like, it's a little, it buys me time, basically. So I'm joined, of course, by Julian. Julian, want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello, Julian Gray, critic extraordinaire.
I'm gonna kind of probably cut this down into like a YouTube video. So it's like, we're just gonna do like, hello, welcome. My Favorite Alien presents 5 burning questions for season 2 of Andor. Let's try that again. Hi, welcome to My Favorite Alien. We're counting down our top 5 burning questions for Andor season 2. They have to be on fire, literally burning. They're so hot. One more time. Hello, and welcome to My Favorite Alien. We're, of course, counting down our favorite 5 burning questions for season 2. We're just 5 burning questions for season 2. This is all bad. I should just cut it all out. We're doing 5 burning questions for season 2 of Andor. All right, there we go.
Do one more. 5 burning questions. Give me a little bit more oomph.
5 burning questions for Andor season 2 coming up right now. I think the biggest question for me for season 2 is what's going to happen to Luthen, because I feel like his fate seems sealed, and I feel like he's accepted he's going to have a grim fate. But I don't as much as I love the character, like he kind of is like a piece of, not a piece of crap, but like he has done horrible things.
Well, I think it calls into question a lot of different things, but one of them is the necessary evil.
Right.
The idea of how many horrible things do you have to do in order to do good, or in order to pave the path. And I think one of the great things about Andor is the classic speech he gives Lonnie about just, how much he's aware of his own ego, but more importantly, how he knows that there's going to be no celebration for him. There's and that's the thing that Tony Gilroy brought up, is you have all these revolutionaries and they have massive egos, and eventually they all become too consumed by their identity. And so for him to sort of commit character assassination on himself, or to move away from that type of seduction and in being in love with your own legend. I think that's the genius part about Tony Gilroy's writing in that model. At first you're like, he's coming to terms with the fact that he is never going to be remembered for any of this. So I think the best way we could see this happening is Luthen's going to die 100%. And it's going to be I hope it's as sudden and as unexpected as all the other deaths that we saw with the Narkina, when the heist happened, and all those characters we kind of thought were going to be our buddies for a bit. They just got picked off left, right, and center.
Aldani, not Narkina.
Oh, sorry, no, yeah, sorry, Aldani.
Wow, I thought you liked the show.
No, but it reminds me of the No Country for Old Men, the part where what's his face, Llewellyn, the character Llewellyn, just gets killed off screen, and Tommy Lee Jones just shows up, and this main character who you have followed through the entire story and been through all of every struggle he's been through, you just see him dead, just taken out by a shotgun. And to me, it's like that. I don't need a triumphant end to Luthen. I almost want, that classic, not a bang, but a whimper kind of thing. I think he deserves that, because that's sort of like the whole purpose of his character.
I think it'd be funny, not funny, but like it'd be interesting if he died like just in like a random inspection or something, like something irrelevant to his life and his work, but like just sort of like the incident. I mean, I just feel like there's like so much incidental like death and consequence and cost to the rebellion, and I feel like just like if it's just like he was like killed like in a traffic stop or something, you know, I just like that idea, like he was like, you know, something like not mundane, but like something like not dramatic, you know, and like something that gives his death more, I don't know, like give his life more meaning, you know.
Well, I think, you know, if anything, and I think it's just we're in for such a treat, because Tony Gilroy has like, he's given so much thought to the purpose of each character and then what's also realistic. But I think you're onto something. I think it's probably going to be something a little bit less triumphant and less mundane. He's not going to like have a bomb strapped to himself and be like, all right, now it's my time. It's going to be, he fucked up somehow, and that's just how it happened. You know, you can do all this amazing stuff. They talk about this in, soldiers talk about this in warfare. People talk about it in revolutions in history. Everyone is susceptible to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and there's no plot armor. So I'm very curious to see how he dies, because I'm very certain he will.
It's like the only character like we know survives any of this is like Mon Mothma.
I know, and that's the cool part. Like, what is she? That is the next cool question. She is in the Senate. She is with the Emperor. She is like trying to navigate herself through this. So what is the event that sends her through the edge? And I think we're seeing through some of the trailer stuff that it's the Gorman Max. Is it Gorman or Goran? I don't know.
Gorman. Goron is from Legend of Zelda.
Legend of Zelda. The Gorman Massacre. I'm
it's like
guessing
Norm Gorman. You know Norm Gorman? Gorman?
Sure.
Do you? I just made him up. You don't know who.
Yeah. Just trying to.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get through.
I fucking got you. Fucking busted. You got.
Just get me through this, all right? We'll worry about my pronunciation later.
Norman Gorman. No.
But I think that is the event, because she has spoken about it so much in season 1, about fighting for them. That is the event where she has not taken her gloves off yet, and we need to see her do that politically. And maybe, I don't think she's going to pick up a weapon in any case. She's more diplomatic than anything else. But to see Mon Mothma be like, now there is absolutely no turning back. It's when she sells out her daughter. A bunch of people are going to get killed. Maybe her family gets killed. And she has nothing left to lose. Because that's what revolutionaries need. That's what revolutions need. People who have nothing to lose.
They also need like a bitchin' soundtrack too.
Oh. Without a doubt.
With like, I guess you don't like the song from that one trailer.
I like the song is. What's
his name?
God, we really need to remember.
What's his name? Earl Grey? No, what's his name? Earl.
Right.
What's his name? Earl Wayne? Earl.
You're gonna have to look it up.
What's his name? Earl.
Did you want me to look this up?
Steve Earle.
Oh, Steve Earle. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like we talked about before, it's just it's good. I think it's a smart move for them, because they gave us an alternative trailer later on that arguably was. It's not that good, and it's not bad. It's just it's very cool to see in this fan community, just specific to Andor. It was very cool to see the trailer come out and everyone being like, oh, it's marketing. And then all these like alternative trailers come out for all these fans who are like, this is what I think it should be. So they're taking pieces of the score from Andor. They're taking other scores from other stuff. And they hit the emotional marks well. It actually made me more curious to watch fan-made stuff, especially trailers, because there's a formula to them that is so precise and very difficult in some ways. So it's always kind of cool.
It's an independent kind of filmmaking to actual filmmaking.
I agree.
You look at like the people, like when the Suicide Squad, I always think like they hired the trailer people to like cut the movie, and like that was such a fucking creative disaster because it clashed so vibrantly with like what was shot. You know, people like the trailer.
Everyone was talking about that trailer. I remember I watched it 5 or 6 times. I was like, "This looks amazing," and then it's who's really good at that? Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's. He hires the best I don't know if he cuts them himself, but his trailers are always amazing. Like, and his movies are generally pretty shitty, in my opinion. I don't really like his work, but I don't think he's like totally incompetent. His trailers are incompetent. Yeah, I mean, I recently rewatched part of Man of Steel, and while it has some problems, it's a really fun, entertaining movie. I think it's a fun ride. So who knows?
I also recently rewatched it, and I completely disagree. I did not have fun watching that movie.
I like it. I think it's like a cute little nod to Terrence Malick in all the wrong ways, which is sort of like what.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
I like it. I love
the intro. Who cares?
I do. I love the fight scenes. Oh my god, the way that. That fight scene in Anytown, USA, with the warhogs like shooting and just getting destroyed by these like superhumans, you have to turn your brain off, but it is like say a lot of things about Zack Snyder. He doesn't have like he knows he's like a nerdy kid. He's just like. I don't really care about story and talking and things like that, but like I have this really cool idea for a shot. And then he did like, what's that Batman sequence where Batman literally kills all those guys on that one floor? And
yeah, that's pretty dope.
It's pretty dope. So I don't know. He's got something in his toolbox, but we're off topic.
Yeah, we're still talking about Batman. Ugh. Not cool. Actually, I think Batman is pretty cool, but not anymore. But I think he was cool in the 90s, and now Batman's like we've been there, we've done it.
Speaking of like superhero
we had
elements,
Batman and Robin. We don't need more. Thinking of what?
No, I was just gonna segue, but like speaking of like superheroes, when we think about the show and then Rogue One and everything leading to Rogue One, I hope up until the moment we see Cassian walking towards that meeting with that guy he eventually shoots in Rogue One because of the plans and stuff. The guy with like
he's going to be in season 2?
Oh yeah. I think it'd be a really missed opportunity.
And the Ring of Kafrene?
The Ring of Kafrene.
That's where he meets that guy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
dude, I actually detest Rogue One, and like I know that shit.
All right. Well, this will be difficult. But yeah, I'm hoping to see that happen. But one of the things about Rogue One that really stands out, obviously, for the majority of the film, there are no lightsabers. And that's one of the greatest things about the Andor series. There's no fucking Force stuff. It's suggested, and sort of a spiritual element is suggested, but it's mainly like it's cloaked in all of this ideology and revolutionary talk. I think is so appropriate. It helps mute that like fantastical element. But at the end of Rogue One, we see this giant clash of like spiritual versus, I don't know. We get to see Vader just absolutely destroy a bunch of dudes.
I hate that. That scene bothers me so much.
Why does it bother you?
Because it makes no sense, like narratively. Why are we suddenly in Vader's POV? Like we're in the like all of a sudden
he's the flagship of the flagship of the Imperial fleet, and he's there.
But we're like suddenly rooting for him to kill like rebel soldiers. Like we've been watching these guys fight tooth and nail, and like all of a sudden we're like people go yeah in the fucking audience.
Oh no! You and I have a very different interpretation of how that scene is. I think of that scene.
I saw that scene with fucking 500 people, and they were fucking yelling and screaming. They're fucking
fuck other people. Screw other people.
Dude, that entire scene glamorizes Vader in such a fucking stupid way.
I completely disagree, and I understand. It's probably misread like how Scarface is misread. I think that scene is absolutely fucking horrifying, and I feel like it's the first. If you think about it's not
horrifying.
I do. Just let me finish. If you interpret what those soldiers are seeing for the first time, they are seeing Darth Vader for the first time. They're probably seeing a Jedi that they've talked about, that they've heard here and there, which is absolutely fucking terrifying. And then the idea that he's just mowing people down and it's a fruitless effort is just staggeringly scary. And then he gets through one door and two other guys who know they're going to die jump in and start shooting at him. And whether or not that was, designed that way or thought through, I always thought the idea of sacrifice and the idea of like, you know what, I'm going to die shooting. I don't care if this guy's a fucking Jedi. I think, the whole part where he spins that guy to the top of the roof, the ceiling and slices him with his lightsaber, pulls all the stuff.
It's force porn, man.
Maddening. It's fucking maddening.
It's force porn. You have to admit it's fucking force porn. It's glamorizing the dark side. There's no fucking reality on this planet that you are attuned to if you tell me that fucking sequence does not glamorize Darth Vader. You saying it's horrifying, and it's like, no, they fucking relish in the fucking slaughter of those people. The camera lingers on their fucking faces and stuff like that. It's fucking glamorizing the death and destruction of the fucking dark side. It's so tonally fucking off the mark from the rest of the fucking film. It is illogical. It makes no sense in the film, but that movie is a fucking pile of shit because it fucking doesn't make any fucking narrative sense at all. The narrative momentum is fucking grinds to a halt.
It's all over the place.
5 times. It's so bad.
It's all over the place.
The movie is so bad, and
I
was like,
it's one of the best Star Wars movies ever made, hands down.
No, it's easily like the second worst.
Well, we won't agree on this, but I will say, back to our original point, which was a while ago. I really hope we're not going to see any of this nonsense appear in the end of Andor. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure that Gareth Edwards had the idea for the whole Vader thing. At the height of his powers, and you and I won't agree on that. I agree that people shouted and it's glorified. I have my own interpretation of it, which I feel good about because I think it's like a horror film, and a horror film version of Star Wars is very cool to me. But nevertheless, I think we're gonna have some sort of allusion to the Force, allusion to Jedis. I just don't want to. I don't want to hear any. I don't even want to hear "May the Force be with you." I don't want to hear it. I just want.
They kind of use that as a mantra in the movies, even for non-Force people.
Well, yeah,
May the Force be with us.
Yeah, good luck, bro. May the Force be with you.
Yeah, he's just Richard Nixon. He's a bad Richard Nixon impression. That's all Admiral Akbar is. You want to do Admiral Akbar? You go like this. You shake your jaws. You go.
What I'm really curious about too, and I've been thinking about Lawrence of Arabia, and you remember when all these different Bedouin tribes, and halfway through that movie start trying to figure out how to politically organize, and all these British people are you need to organize a parliament, and it's these are people who have your clash of culture is just means nothing to them and is a threat to them. It's so crazy. And so when I think of revolutionaries and some of the history I've studied, I'm very curious to know how they're going to piece things together in this new season about and show the progress of the structure of the rebellion, less so about they're hit and run attacks and stuff, but in Rogue One we see that not Admiral Akbar, but this is might as well be the same guy.
General Radis,
thank you. He leads an organized fleet of these very capable starships and stuff. So it becomes more of like, a flotilla shows up, or an organized, armada shows up. Like, what does it look like? What do those things look like? And that's what I'm so curious about, because we got little snippets of Saw Gerrera having X-Wings and all these other things. And you're like, okay, how do they standardize this stuff? Because in Rogue One, we see What's-Her-Face being taken through Yavin 4, and she's, under arrest and stuff, and you see all the, the cool stuff where they're all like, doing their...
A lot of that's explained in Rebels.
What?
What you want.
Oh, cool. Well, it's just too bad that it's a kid's show that I probably won't watch.
It's out there.
All right. Well,
if you want that content, like, it exists.
I think I want to see. I don't think I want that to be the focus, but I want the political ramifications and the diplomatic things to be a focus on that. Okay. And I'm just curious. It might draw some interesting parallels to how the current security situation in Europe is, but I don't know. I don't know if the show will be even close to that heavy.
I doubt it. It's a show for children.
No, it's a show for adults, but it's a show for adults.
No, it's not.
You don't think Andor was made for adults?
I don't think anything Star Wars is made for adults. It's all made for children.
Even Andor, though?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's the reason why it's so beloved now. Because it was like smart, clever, well-structured like storytelling.
It's fucking Star Wars, man. It's all for kids.
Damn, man. Well, I don't know. Like, to me, it's one of those. It's an oddity, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's an oddity is that it was the first time I watched a Star Wars show, and I was like, you didn't even need to be Star Wars. You could be completely something else. You are like a timeless vessel of a story that could be implanted in any type of franchise. And I think that's what's so curious about it. It's just like there are these little snippets of Star Wars embedded into it, but they're not exploited. They're not franchised in terms of like, get your next little toy here. It's just like, no, we really just want to talk about characters dealing with some really harsh shit. Yeah, sure, Star Wars is in the background. So, I don't know. I'd argue that it's like...
I mean, I would argue Star Wars is still very much the foreground. Like, I don't know. I don't really think like you can separate this show from Star Wars and you would have like still have a good show. I think the Imperial Senate and all the planetary stuff, I think like you take all that Star Wars stuff out of it and like you just have
pretty easy though. You take an oppressed planet with an overarching fascist government and the seeds of, a rebellion, a reluctant rebellion at that, like a Jon Snow character of some sort, fighting learning his way to realize that he has a purpose to become a revolutionary and lead part of the revolution, even just a fraction of it. So I think like, we can, a lot of Star Wars has all like these Star Wars layered themes, but like, like the Mandalorian was just a Mandalorian, and the cub and the bear, and like the wolf and the bear cub, or I can't remember the actual. What was the story element they had in that? But I'm just saying that like there are snippets of Star Wars that are really good and have parallels to real life events, but they're like very much stretches. Like George Lucas said that the rebels in the first Star Wars were basically the Viet Cong against the United States. And that's how he got the idea for it. Mm-hmm. This is more so, I think, more of a messier mix of all these different revolutions in history and a much more mature and meditated and thoughtful like approach. But like, I can't compare the two because George Lucas was just trying to make a cool science fiction action thing with some layers of some layers of like, complexity, but not too many. Like Tony Gilroy's like, let me take this shitty, boring franchise that's doing everything wrong and try and make it look like genius. And I think he has.
I think he just created interesting, compelling characters.
Yeah. And then,
I think,
like half his job was done.
Are kind of like, let me talk for a second. Like they have like that, like they kind of characters in Star Wars are traditionally very one-dimensional. Luke is not a very interesting person. Neither is Leia. Han Solo, love him, but he's all charm and snark. And, you take that away, he's like, he's just a collection of one-liners. But we love them because, they're simple. I think that's part of their appeal. There's very little... There's no simplicity in Andor. Everything is very complicated, especially the characters. They're always presented with like very, very difficult like ethical and moral choices, which I think is very unique to the show. I think you don't really get that in a lot of the Dave Filoni stuff, which is just kind of like more in spirit of George. And I think like if you want to like compare and contrast these two approaches to Star Wars, like you feel like they kind of feel seemingly at odds with each other. And I feel like they kind of are. I'd be curious to see like how involved anyone was in like crafting Andor versus like how hands off they were. I just feel like this feels like a work of more of a singular voice than like the Star Wars stories group that exists, that like oversees all of Star Wars, and like this doesn't
like the
felt
lore?
like a product. Yeah, they're keepers of the lore. Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah. No, that's definitely it. Like, I mean, if anything, this franchise just needs a disruption. And I said it before, something. It's just like we're in such a unique moment of needing that type of disruption, and it's just shocking that it's this good. It's usually half this good if it's sort of like a deviation. I wish I could give you an example, but it just feels like this is such a unique experience because it's so competent. It's just unbelievably competent, consistent, and like has a lot of conviction in retrospect, which I just absolutely love. That's why I keep coming back to it. I just like adore how confident the show is with itself. But what are you thinking about like other things like you want to see in season 2?
I want to see what's the guy like all the Ferrex people. I want to see what they get up to.
Oh,
Bix and what's his name? The guy with
yeah.
gloves.
The gloves guy. And the guy who literally takes Marva's stone and smashes it against an Imperial officer. It's fucking amazing. Oh, man. It's like B something. Boone. But, oh, man, I'm butchering it.
B2 emo?
No. It's different than that. I'll have to pull up the list of characters. But I will get it down.
What I want to see is if we see Dantooine. Do you remember in the original Star Wars they go to the base?
Yeah.
It's like the old base was on Dantooine. Like, they find like the old base, but they all moved to Yavin.
Yeah. Leia goes, Dantooine. They're on Dantooine. You see, Lord Vader, she can be reasonable. Oh man, it's like ingrained into my skull here.
You may fire when ready.
You may fire. Oh, Brasso. That's
a Brasso.
Oh, such a good name too. That's a shame that I missed that. But yeah, what do you think? Like when you think about the more antagonistic characters like Dedra Miro and Cyril and even like
I want to see what the consequences of Cyril's like play at the end of season 1 for Dedra. Like I want to see like does she feel like she owes him, or like does he just like what is like I want to see like does he get back in the game somehow? Is he in the ISB? Like I'm very like confused about where they like how they're presenting that character and whether or not he's going to become like a if he like might become a good guy.
I think I agree with you. I don't know either. I think it can go two ways because he has all the makings. Like everything he did in season 1 was kind of the right thing to do.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with his logic.
He was a little stalkery.
He no, for sure. He became stalkery, but he was trying to fulfill the principles in which he decided, I am standing for these things, therefore this guy who killed 2 people is wrong. And the context of which the world he lives in is his problem, is that he doesn't understand that brilliant scene with him and his superior at the very beginning of the first season, or the very first episode. He's all stuck up to prove himself, but he's blinded by the fact that he doesn't understand that there are all these different nuances to how things are run and how corrupt they are, but he's trying to be incorruptible. And I think one of the cool things is that he thinks that he wants to be part of the ISB. He thinks Dedra is like a messiah or like a golden, he's super attracted to her, obviously, but like he's more than attracted to her. He's attracted to the role and ideology and order she brings, which is like neo-Nazi craziness. But to see what happens when he I want to see if they make him realize that the side he's rooting for is actually a bunch of fascists, or if he just doubles down and thinks and worships it. Who knows?
He's an interesting character. I don't know. Like, I love that actor too. I just want to see him succeed, and I hope they give him some juicy stuff. I'm worried he's going to end up toasted, but I can see him dying in Deidre's arms. Wouldn't that be something? Isn't that like romance for the show? If he died,
we don't, dude. I swear, it's fine if it happens. I just feel like this show is not it's not smarter. It's just not interested in that. I think the best we possibly got with romance was literally him leading her out, pretending he had a gun to her back, and then saved her from being basically turned into mincemeat from a crowd. That is the coolest part in Rick's Road is when he just says, I suppose I should say thank you. He's like, you don't need to. It's that's the most Batman. Romantic shit you're going to get from the show.
Yeah. Well, you get the stuff between Cinta and what's her name.
Yeah, but even that is incredibly dismissive and subtle. And I love that aspect of it. It's 2 gay characters in Star Wars, which is very big, but they don't, in the best way, they don't draw attention to it. They draw attention to behavior and concern, and vulnerability. Those are the things that they mix with, but they don't be like, guess what? These are 2 gay characters and we've inserted them in Star Wars. Right. It's more like, these people care about each other, and this person's conflicted because they're trying to be in a rebellion, but she loves this woman. It's very honest. So, yeah, I think I think they're going to get very little from the romantic part of things. What else you got?
We can still hope for, we can still hope for Bix and Cassian to get back together,
It seems like from some of the trailer stuff I've seen, there's some of that happening.
Okay, well, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
I don't know. It's pure speculation, but
I saw a clip on TikTok today. I was like, of him in the TIE Fighter. Did you see that one?
No, I've been staying away from everything. There was one clip where he gets in that. We all know it's that TIE Fighter, but where I saw stormtroopers. That amazing shot they have in the original trailer where they're running into a bay. Mm-hmm. I know that's going to be a climactic scene or a really amazing scene. I'm just every time I see anything on Andor, I'm just dismissing it and just hoping other people who don't know the show are watching and it becomes a big success. I just really want other people to see it. That's the crazy thing about this. If it was just any other Star Wars show, I'd be like, why would I possibly recommend it? But this show I would recommend to so many other people who don't even like the series.
Yeah, I tried to get my mom to watch it. She didn't really get into it though. That's tough.
It's a tough ride, and there's a lot of faith going on in terms of being ready for it. But I don't know. What do you think is going to happen to Ferrix?
I assume they're going to feel the full force of the Empire. Empire seems to like they're. I feel like we're going to see that they've really tightened things up, and it's like the Empire seems to have like a very long memory in terms of or maybe
Yeah.
a short memory. I don't know what it is. It's either short or long, but like they're going to like take care of business, you know. Fam?
Yeah. Just carpet bomb the whole city.
Yo, do you know what Gerber means?
Gerber?
Yo, Gerber fam.
No. What's that?
I don't know. Toronto slang.
Gerber.
Gerbert.
Gerbert. Hayden. The kids are saying all sorts of shit these days. No, I don't know.
Okay. Just for the record, neither me or Julian know what Gerber means. Yo, Gerber fam. We gotta go up, fam.
Do you think at all that
No.
we are going to
Oh, I don't
hear about Andor's sister?
I would hope so. It just feels like a nice bookend, maybe in the last episode. Like, you know, that's how it ends. Like, you know, kind of how it begins. Like him, like getting, or maybe this is like he gets word from her or something, or he gets like the very, very end, like the last thing he gets a message or something saying like, "Hey, I found her" or something, and like you know that he never gets to like follow through on that because he dies. Could be sad.
They do like a Game of Thrones thing where he goes to like Andor just does something terrible, goes to a bar, gets drunk, and then like goes to a brothel, and then he gets like a lap dance, and then finds out it's his sister the whole.
Right.
No,
Is that Game of Thrones or is that Old Boy?
I guess that's a mixture of both, but I always thought it was so... Game of Thrones is fucking wild if you look at him. Like in retrospect, it's like all these crazy things happen.
It's honestly crazy to me that any woman watched the show. Because like that was just a fucking show made by dudes for sure.
It was
So
made
much
by
sexual
dudes.
violence in it.
Dude, but it's like one of the most successful franchises in history. Like it was a phenomenon. Everyone watched it, and there was like, remember the first 4 or 5 seasons, like if you didn't have a boob in a scene, there was just like if something was wrong. And then it transformed slightly and got more artistic, and then it fell back. That whole thing is going to be such an interesting ride to revisit in like a couple of years when it's like 10 years old. But what was? Oh yeah, no. I'm very curious to know what you think. What do you think is going to happen? Like, what do you think we're going to see of Saw Gerrera?
He'll be in it. I mean, I'd like to see him unleashed or like, you know, I feel like he's like a force to be reckoned with, and I feel like I want to see him do something I think worthy of like the hype that he kind of never really lived up to in Rogue One. Like I feel like when we announced that like Forrest Whitaker is playing Saw Gerrera, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker?
Yeah,
Like Saw Gerrera from the cartoon. And like, yep. It was surreal, but they kind of wasted him and squandered him in the movie. Like he was just kind of there to like deliver exposition and like give
Lies, deceptions.
Yeah.
It was very melodramatic.
Have you come to kill me?
You?
What's her name?
Come to kill me? It was so weird the way he played it, but I think that's one of the things about fucking Andor is that every scene I have rewatched every scene with Saw Gerrera. I don't even want to tell you like over 20 times because I love the dialogue and I love the back and forth and the mind playing like, are you lying to me? Are you not lying to me? And Saw Gerrera becomes like one of my favorite characters in Star Wars in those 2 scenes. One where he's meeting him for like our first experience with him, and the next one is when Luthen admits that he's going to expend Krieger for the information. That scene's just. But sorry for swearing.
That's fine. I don't give a shit.
Sweet. But I'm just curious because we have that scene where he's like shaking. Maybe Andor or someone else is like, "You're here. You're ready to fight." Like, we know he's going to reach this moment where he turns absolutely paranoid and insane. But I'm just curious to know how much of that we're going to see, and since there's such a time jump in the show compared to last season and the second season, like what that all is going to look.
And it really sucks that the show is so hard to make, and that we only got 2 seasons of it. Because 5 seasons of Tony Gilroy, that's a decade. That would have been amazing.
They wanted to do it. I think him and Diego said that they sat down, and they were like, they had the plan. They had the Bible of whatever of Andor, and then they both. I think they said they were at one. Someone was at the other's house and they were drinking and they were like, "We can't do this. You're going to age in 5 years and you can't pretend that you're that young. There's no way we can do it." And he's like, "That's 10 years of my life." It's not like five more seasons or 4 more seasons. It's like an extra 10 years. So I think the podcast it was on, but it was very heartwarming because you could tell that Tony Gilroy was down. He was into it. He was into the idea. So was Diego. And it's just this unfortunate thing about aging. And the show also cost the most amount of any Star Wars show. So I think.
Yeah, but not per minute. I think Acolyte's still more expensive. Like if you think cost per minute.
Did that get renewed?
No. People were upset about that though.
Yeah. Well, who?
People who liked it, like me.
You liked it?
I thought it had its moments. It was fine. I think people hated it for really weird reasons, like things that didn't make sense to me.
I just couldn't get through 20 minutes of it. I was just like, enough. I don't care about this dumb Star Wars shit that's mixed with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and trying to be something unique. It seemed like a very boring plot. But
yeah, it was kind of going for a weird Rashomon thing, and it didn't really work too well.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the change of stuff. It seemed like cartoonish, and I'm just not interested in that anymore.
Right. I think that'll do it for this week. If you want to get in touch with the pod, you can email me at myfavoritealienpod@gmail.com. You can also find us online at various social. You know what I said? I would get the graphic done, and I didn't get it done. Or did I? Are we looking at the graphic right now? We're not.
Time will tell.
But next week the graphic will be done for sure. I am working on that graphic, and it's going to be glorious. So I hope you have a wonderful day and keep searching, my lovelies.